Oh, yeah, the club soda. No, I'm not. I'm not in recovery or anything. I had a gin and tonic earlier. No, the club soda has to do with an experience I had a long time ago. I was a freelance writer, and I got a gig ghostwriting some guy's autobiography. It was just for his kids and his grandkids, really. It wasn't going to be published anywhere. But I took the train out to Pittsburgh, and from there I called for an Uber to take me the rest of the 20 miles to the guy's house. I was going to be there a whole week, interviewing him, taking notes. So the Uber shows up, and it's this young surfer kind of guy, a little spaced out, starts talking a lot as we go. He dropped out of college, but he wanted to go back, that kind of thing. I got the idea he was maybe a little more interested in weed than he was staying in class. It was a very rural road we were on. He'd never been out there, and it was my first time anywhere near that area. At one point, the road got real winding through the trees, and out of nowhere, here comes, in our lane, going probably twice the speed limit, a blue van, about 3 seconds from plowing head-on into us. I think I screamed, I'm not sure. But this kid at the wheel, this Uber guy, without making a sound, he swerves us out of the way, off onto the shoulder. Now there's a downslope there, just enough to grab our center of gravity, and we start to tip. I can feel it. We're gonna flip over and run into the trees just down the slope. And the kid, smooth as a race car driver, jerks the wheel just so, and hits the gas at just the right moment to shoot us back onto the road. He overcorrects, but then we were back on the road, on the double yellow line, and he's got control again, all without the slightest hesitation or sound. I still can't even speak. I'm thinking about how when the van went by us on our right with maybe 3 inches to spare, I saw a young woman, blonde, maybe 20. I saw her face against the glass, and she was laughing. When I looked back, the van was gone, around the bend, never stopped, never slowed for an instant. The kid stops the car on the shoulder, and he gets out, and I do too, and we're both real shaky. His eyes are wide. I am just fawning over his skill at the wheel. That maneuvering was so flawless, so smooth. He said he didn't know where it came from. He was just in total shock, he supposed. We're trying to laugh it off, but that was it. That was our death. We'd just avoided because of one moment of flawless reflex. And I get in the back seat again, and he gets in the front seat, and finally we just keep going. 15 miles left to our destination. Now, though, the kid wasn't talking anymore, and I didn't press him. We're driving along. It's kind of a bleak, dark January day. And the land gets a little strange. It opens up on every side, and it flattens. And at first I thought it was just acres and acres of farmland around us, but it was more like the earth had been stripped from every inch of the area, the top layers of everything, all the soil, pulled up so that there was just ugly gray dirt everywhere. No farm buildings, just scarred earth, as if a lake had once been all around, but dried up and vanished. It went on for a few miles. I'd never quite seen a landscape so sad. And there were birds overhead, thousands of them, one giant, never-ending flock, seemed like. They must have been migrating, but it was so late for that. It didn't seem to make sense. The kid began to slow the car and he pulled over. And before I could even ask him what was up, he'd gotten out again, so I did too. We were standing on the road and I said, "Are you all right?" And he was trembling a little. All the good humor from the first part of the trip was gone. And he looked at me and he said, "I don't know if we really made it." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Maybe I wasn't really quick enough." He looked around and I saw he had tears in his eyes. He said, "Why is this place so strange? What's happening?" And I actually put my hands on his shoulders. I was trying to calm him down. I said, "Look, of course we made it. We're fine. The people in the van are fine. It's just not a very pretty part of the area. There's nothing strange going on." I think I was trying to convince myself because I felt it too. Something had changed. I felt lightheaded. The place felt surreal. I offered to drive us the rest of the way. The kid was in no condition to make it, so we swapped places, and I told him to lie down back there and not say anything. I kept driving, but I tell you, I was sweating because the birds kept flying overhead, and the land kept rolling on, scarred and dry and somehow terrible. But then it did start to change. A big industrial farm complex came up on our left, and then we passed through a small town, and it all made sense again. It was normal rural land. We got to the house, and I told the kid I was putting a $100 tip in for him, and that he should take the rest of the day off, and I shook his hand, and he drove off. That night, I was sleeping in the guest house out back of the client's place, and I woke up sometime before dawn. It had taken me a long time to pass out. I turned over in bed, and I saw a big, human-sized form under the covers. Smaller than I was, but definitely an adult. And I think because I took it for a dream, I didn't panic. I just lay there and looked at it. My eyes adjusted to the dark, and I saw the top of a head sticking out of the covers, just the top, and long blonde hairs peeking out, touching the pillow, and two fingers, very still, very thin, almost totally white. The next thing I knew, the sun was coming in through the windows, and I was waking up in the bed alone. There was no one in the bed with me. I managed to stagger into the shower and get moving, and I pushed through the day's interview. Something took hold of me, though. I didn't turn my phone on all day, I didn't check my texts, and I did not check the news. And when I was talking to the guy whose bio I was doing, I made sure we dove right into it and never talked about anything going on in the world. I realized when I went back to my room that night that I was terrified to find out that maybe someone I was aware of had died. Late, I left without an explanation. I sent an email to the guy the next morning that I had a family emergency and I'd contact him soon about coming back, but I never did. I walked into town to a hotel, and the next morning I rented a car and drove all the way back to Maryland with the radio off, all because I was terrified of hearing the wrong information. Being in that area made me too susceptible to it. It's not easy to live that way these days. It's hard to avoid finding things out. Something strange can happen in Dallas, and you'll be shown the headline just checking your email in New Hampshire. I wasn't expecting that I'd hear about a car crash on a country road outside Pittsburgh, and a van full of dead people, or a dead Uber driver and his passenger who was also mangled and killed in the collision, or maybe when they flipped into the trees. What I was afraid of was hearing about a later death, as if there'd been a lag between the event and the result, like a death finally caught up. Uber driver dies in house fire. Young woman and her boyfriend, victims of murder, found in a van they'd been traveling through Pennsylvania in. Freelance writer simply stops breathing, sitting upright in a public library, eyes open and staring. Cause of death unknown. Never happened. I got over it eventually. I'm still here. I assume the others are out there somewhere too, living their lives. It's been 8 years. I remember every detail of that woman's hair in the dark, though, and her fingers, and even, I don't know, that ambient warmth a person sleeping beside you radiates. I felt that. That doesn't seem like the kind of thing you'd feel in a dream. Anyway, the one tangible legacy of it all is that to this day, I won't let anyone drive me anywhere. I need to be at the wheel. And so, the club soda. Cheers.